Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. You're watching P3, the place where we sit and talk to people who have tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. I'm your host, Janie Terrazas, and today I am with the awesome empowerment coach and author of the new book, Emotional Beauty, Luis E. Cavazos. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you've carved out a little time here in your day to chat with us about what power, passion, and purpose mean to you. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing great. The weather's been kind of interesting here in San Antonio. So I don't know how that impacts you at all. Does when it's like sunny and bright and sort of gloomy and gray, how does that impact you?
I am more of the beach. I'm more of the sun. This weather kind of puts me in a funk, but I learned to motivate myself more even when it's cloudy outside. And my biggest inspiration is more of the sun and nature. I love bathing myself in nature and walking barefoot in the grass. And
Yeah, it's very relaxing. And we can kind of touch a little bit on what are some of the self-care practices, that you use to help keep you grounded and centered in these virtues that you so eloquently write about in your post. If you're not already following Luis, you need to, especially if you want doses of inspiration. How did you end up in the line of work that you're doing?
so I came to existentialism, and existentialism is a form of philosophy where we relate ourselves to the world and through existence, and by questioning ourselves, am I being responsible with my life? Am I loving openly? Am I connecting deeply, meaningfully? Am I being vulnerable with myself? Existentialism is that form of philosophy where it enlarges our scope of creativity and of beauty, but mainly responsibility and taking courageous steps towards a purposeful, driven life. And that came to me when I was in high school. I came through that youthful divorce with myself when I was just kind of like depressed, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But I did know that I wanted to help people, and my friends would come to me asking for advice. So I knew then that was my niche. But I was just in this funk, depressed, not happy with my life, confused about college, whether or not to go. But I did receive my master's in counseling and clinical mental health counseling. So that kind of just started at the hospital realm, working at a hospital, working at a clinical setting, etc. But then it wasn't meeting my heart anymore, nor my needs. And so that's when empowerment coaching came along, and there was a need for people to strive and to ascend to another level of meaning and of beauty. And I'll touch on beauty in a bit. To say the least, people don't like to be labeled, and some people find it empowering to be diagnosed, and some people find it like very daunting, like, oh my God, like I'm diagnosed with this. And so that's when it met my heart that people want to achieve something much more greater than themselves, but they don't know what exactly that is.
Right.
So that's where I provide assessments and tools and whatnot.
Was there anybody in your family that supported this realm of thinking and way of being, or it really was just something that you ventured into on your own?
The venture definitely on my own, which is always the fun part. But reading philosophy and psychology, I know my mom loves psychology a lot, and she loved reading books about that. And she was more of the, I want to say, the behavioral cognitive aspect. And so I just wanted to flirt a little bit more about what's much more deeper than that, than just the mind. So I wanted to delve deeply into philosophy, and yeah.
Who are some of the individuals that you feel helped you with your own awakening around living a meaningful, purposeful life?
Very good question. Definitely my family. They played an important role in shaping my beliefs and helping me push myself. My father growing up, he was the one that really pushed me to the max. My mom was one of the more of the solution cognitive aspects, saying, well, if this doesn't work, what's your plan B? What's your plan C? My dad is like, no, there's no such thing as plan B or C or D. No, we're going to do it. You're going to get it. And that's it. My mom was more of the cautionary. Well, let's work on plan B and see if A doesn't work. So that shaped my belief to be more rigid, more hard. So I guess I can say I got more of my dad's genes. And
Mm-hmm.
so when things are kind of complicated in my life, I always like to think there's always a plan A, and that's what I like to focus on. I don't want to think about C, D, E, or F because I want to manifest that energy, and then everything's be chaotic and confusing.
Exactly. And so, where do you feel what really embodies the word power for you? Because it can have a bad connotation. And so, you know what I mean? And so when used improperly, it can be very destructive. So describe what power is and where you feel your power comes from.
Power can be often overlooked with shallow materialistic selves and that pleasure of that materialistic society that we see today, that superficial aspect, as you mentioned. To me, power is that altruistic leadership stand where you empower, you deepen, and you have that richness of connection with people. Power is using your voice to multiply the effects of meaning and purpose and responsibility so others can adopt that mindset for them to connect with other individuals. And for me, the way I use my power is by hosting all these workshops here in San Antonio and in schools also as well to prevent bullying and prevent suicide. And for me, it just power should multiply effects of goodness, not multiply destruction, war, vanity, or any of that sort.
Absolutely. And you touched on the word voice. That's so major. So many people are disconnected from their voice,
Right.
or the integrity, of their voice, meaning like sort of honoring their truth and or even being comfortable speaking up. Have you always been comfortable using your voice? And what has that been like for you?
In the beginning, it was very difficult for me to share my voice. And that's when I joined Toastmasters, which is a local chapter here in San Antonio, because I wanted to better myself. But there is one professor in Texas State back in my college days in 2011, Dr. Stephen Beebe. He was one of my biggest mentors and for speech communication because to me, I was just very timid, very shy. For those that know me very well, especially my formative years, I was extremely, extremely shy. And so in my early days of public speaking, I was really, really nervous and I didn't know what message to convey or how to say the words. And so through practice and through the local chapter of Toastmasters, it helped me to shape the way I speak today and the way I connect deeply with the students or with staff.
Right. And I know that part of our voice isn't just actually using the voice in this way that we are right now, but it's the power of word that you write. I know that one of your passions is writing.
Right.
And so tell us a little bit about passion and how passion and power come together for you.
Passion is that form of excitement when you feel this awe-inspiring, when you just feel connected to that core belief within your soul. For me, passion is writing, communicating with people, getting to the community of San Antonio, and getting to know their story, their culture, their beliefs. And my passion is integrated by helping them to achieve a meaningful life. And that really, really excites me, and it shows either when I write or when I'm up there speaking with the students.
I think living authentically, intentionally, deliberately is really where we start to discover liberation and inner peace. And that in itself is sort of a journey inward of discovering your authentic self when you start to shed all these skins and these ideologies and beliefs that have been imposed on you and limitations. So you've kind of like broken free from all of these chains. And I know that you love learning. That's another thing I love about you. You're continually seeking knowledge to help live the most ideal life for yourself, and also so that you can be a better service to those that you are helping. So again, I want to thank you for that, being one of the human beings on this planet that's living in a place of self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-accountability, and responsibility. As these things unite, passion, power, purpose, meaning, what does it mean for you to live this meaningful life? What does it feel like to live in the space of being your true self?
Living a purposeful life can be very daunting at times, and sometimes there's that unheard, that unsearched for meaning. or that unheard cry because people may not connect with it. And for me, living a purposeful life means that I have to connect deeply to what I'm saying, live by it, and always question myself daily whether or not I'm fulfilling the habits. Am I connecting with the culture? Am I connecting with the people? A purposeful life can get messy at times because we're going to go through this turmoil in life, this confusion, this anxiety, this depression, but it's how we learn to unstuck ourselves from that and how to voice that. And I tell people that there's beauty behind depression and anxiety. They're like, what, really? I'm like, yes, because when you unbox the true gifts of that, you will truly see objectively what that anxiety means to you. And when you see for what it is, then you're able to untangle and just slowly piece together the puzzle and figure out, okay, if this is happening right here, how can I get over here? And slowly you're able to integrate your fullness.
Yeah, it's course correcting. There's so much power and beauty, even though there's a lot of discomfort in working on, they call it like the shadow work. And so for you've dedicated your life to helping people, and you do it in such a compassionate way. Holding safe space, I know, is very sacred. What does that look like when you create safe space?
Creating a safe space within myself is truly important because that's when I really hone in and get in touch with myself. It's kind of like, you can just relax and just figure out and just reflect on what that day meant to me. And what I like to do is, if there's one particular moment in my life or in that week or in that day, I like to take a snapshot of it in my mind and say, wow, this was utterly amazing. And I like to take a snapshot of it, kind of like a photo, like the ones that just goes like panoramic. I like to imagine that in my mind throughout, at least for 1 month, for each day of, at least for every month. I like to take a snapshot of my mind and figure out, okay, this went well. How can I continue on living this sacred space of my purpose?
What are some of the things that you do to help yourself stay in that power, passion, purpose space?
For me, it's meditation. I journal my thoughts. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of grounding, mindfulness behavior. And also, I always make a habit to have a date. I like to call it a date with nature. And Mother Nature is my date. And I like for Mother Nature to talk to me through my soul. And when she whispers through my soul, she flutters with the wind or the sun hitting my cheek, and it just flirts beautifully. And it just makes me smile. And I just know that life is going to be great from there.
What is it like being a man who's in touch with this heart and his spirit, as well as that masculine side who knows how to protect and lead? I call them gentlemen.
It's a very good question, and I was going to touch on that actually, and talk about how I've inspired some men actually on my Facebook. They'll send me some DMs, and they were raised with this machismo, cowboy, saddle up, put your boots on, and let's go. And the more I talk about vulnerability, because I keep talking a lot about vulnerability on my posts on Facebook,
Yes.
I've received a lot of DMs from men who said that they struggled with anger issues with their wives or with their girlfriends, and that my post really connected with them. And they said, it's so amazing to see a guy like you talk about that. And so that really touched my heart, that knowing that I'm touching other men out there, because I know men struggle a lot, and it's no joke. They struggle a lot to be vulnerable. They struggle a lot to get in touch with nature or to get in touch with beauty. But in the long run, it's going to pay off in your communication skills, listening to your girlfriend or wife. It's going to pay off in just in everything, in daily activities, in your business, leadership skills.
Yeah, it's helping men tap into like empathy and compassion. They need to see this healthier masculinity. And vulnerability is a word that we've been hearing a lot, especially in our field, because I feel like we can't have authenticity without vulnerability and humility, and pride and all of that really kind of gets in the way. And seeing feelings as like just for girls, or it just being sort of a sign of weakness, to show vulnerability. And so I want to thank you for doing that work as well. It's important for more men to get comfortable in that space. And the only way they're going to be able to do that is to see other people like yourself saying, look, if there's nothing wrong with me spending time in nature and really taking in the beauty in the manner that you do, you know. And I love how you use your imagination to take these like snapshots that you can use later for yourself. You mentioned meaning, and your book, Emotional Beauty, talks a lot about how to bridge meaning together into your day-to-day life. So tell us about what inspired the book.
Emotional beauty is a connection within ourselves and with the world and through our culture and through our beliefs, that no matter what you believe in or what background you come from, we're all in this together in this world. And I've noticed between the affluent community and other communities here, I've noticed that there is a gap between how they view beauty and how they view superficial beauty. And they only viewed beauty when things were going right in their lives, whereas other people in the community viewed beauty in the sense of gratitude. And that's what really inspired me, is that, okay, can we all just come together and view beauty as in a form of relation, kind of like saying, oh, you too? Oh, you too? You too? Really? Oh my gosh, really? Wow, okay. So it's that connection. And I started to see that when I did Survey Monkey. I did a poll using that website, and that's when it just kind of just blew my mind that people struggle, but they put on a mask and they don't want to show it. And so they pretend to be someone they're not. And so emotional beauty is about unmasking that self, no matter if you're in a leadership role, you're in marriage relationships, which it's touch heavily based on, or you're going through grief, anxiety, depression, we're all in it together. But it's learning to form that understanding of how to relate to one another, and to, like you said, empathy. Empathy is very important, where we open the dialogue of, help me to understand you. You said this, Rachel or Sarah, but I'm not quite understanding you. Help me to understand you more. Joseph, I hear you're angry at me, but help me to understand why you're angry. What did I do to cause this? There's beauty in everything.
And I know that earlier when you were talking about pain and then finding a way to, like, even like depression, finding the beauty in it, finding the lesson and using that to propel you into the better version of yourself. How have you been able to transform your pain into purpose and then be able to give gratitude for it? Because that in itself is an entire journey. And I know that you can't give us every little detail, but what was the thing that really started to help you understand life from that perspective?
When I knowingly that I'm gonna die, and I know it sounds morbid or
No, it
something.
doesn't. It sounds beautiful, actually.
Right, yes. Because the moment we realize and imprint that in our minds that we're all gonna die, then we started to take responsibility for ourselves. And that's when I had that aha moment, like, holy rats, like, I'm gonna die one day. So I better start taking my life very seriously, start using my message, and start using the garden that was planted in my soul, and start using that flower and just grow it out into a beautiful garden where we all can share that same garden together. And so, like I told you, going through that depression, I used that pain and purpose into something more meaningful, and objectively saw myself and just said, okay, one day I will die. And we're all gonna die. And so I said, nothing lasts forever. And so let me start using these steps. If I want to be over here, let me start getting educated over, in those steps, and just trickle it back to the present moment over here.
I love it. Thank you so much for being with us. So what are some of the last words of advice that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Take responsibility for your life, and learn to shape that form into something more meaningful. I know it can be a scary world out there, and sometimes our voice goes unnoticed, but share that voice, because there is beauty behind it. No matter what you hear in the news, no matter what we're seeing today through chaos or through that, there is peace within ourselves, and internationally we can form globally once we empathize, once we love, and once we connect and deepen ourselves through a relational stance. Life will always evoke humor and irony, and in between those moments is how we connect deeply and meaningfully through our culture.
Yes, and I do believe that it starts with us as individuals, and then doing what we can to create healthy families and then that spreads into communities. And of course, the culture is really what we want to heal. And we, the people, are the culture. So I really appreciate all the beautiful virtues that you live by. I feel that they align very much with unconditional love. And that's what we all need a lot more of. So thank you again, and continued success on all your beautiful endeavors. I look forward to working together on some projects here in the near future.
Me too. I'm super excited to empower others in our community because we need to spread this message more.
Yes, we do. You guys definitely want to connect with them via Facebook and Instagram. You can go to luiscavazos.motivation. And I want to thank all of the viewers for watching P3. Be sure to tune in next week when I'll have digital media consultant Gylan Jackson. He's another power hitter here in San Antonio, and he and I have had some really wonderful conversations, so I can't wait to hear what he has to say about power, passion, purpose. Thank you for all of you who have liked and followed Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. Your likes and follows are greatly appreciated because they help spread the love. As we say goodbye, always remember, love thyself and value thyself. Peace be in us.